Okay, so this is chart 228. We looked at the A pattern. There's also, you could do a D pattern, but this is just a generic chart that shows you pretty much the most important thing in this pattern. With this chart, for instance, is the fact that there's 3 fretboards so that you can look at the caged interlocked relationships. Of course, starting with the long pattern here that goes into the next cage. Like I said, the A goes into that G cage, the G goes into this E cage. And remember, if you're doing diatonic, you want to play that E diatonic at that point. So let's look at the G-shaped C. There's its pentatonic, okay? G-shaped C up here. Same thing as G-shaped G down there. But it's up here, it's G-shaped C on my guitar. If we want to play the long pattern, we're going to start with the top half of an S4E, which starts with a G and goes to a D, so it's 6, 7, root 2, 3, 4. Then we go into an S3 AXL, 5, 6, 7, root 2, 3, warp up, 4, 5, 6. 5, 6 goes into a 7, root 2 E pattern. And what I'm saying is, if you wanted to come down diatonically, you would have to play an E pattern on the way down. That's the E pattern. This bottom part is the top part, is the S4E, okay? The bottom, the bottom part of that pattern, all right, which was the G pattern. When I was playing from that E up here, okay, the bottom part of this E diatonic 6-string scale is the S4E, 7, root 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 6, 7, root 2, 3, 4. And from there you would just go into a whoops, sorry. So obviously that pattern is an E pattern. Let's look at that pattern that I just messed up. So you can see it's not all that easy. Starting from the E, I could do it down here octave. It would be root 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, root 2, remember right justified, 3, 4, 5, 3, 4, 5, and then we can go ahead and do an S2AXL, 5, 6, 7, root 2, 3. Okay, we have note doubling there. That's a ladder there. I put that there for, this is kind of just suggestive. I've mixed them up and shown different ways to do the pattern, just to get in the spirit of just knowing how to communicate a pattern to somebody, to say this is going to be an S2RXL, root 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. You know, we can just look for it in one of the fretboards. You get a little fretboard. That's why I leave a little fretboard over here. Here's root 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, and then we'd have, now this is usually right justified, but this is extremely right justified because it goes over one more fret to 7, root 2, starting with short pattern there. So you can see how this chart is valuable, but it's fairly limited because it's not continuous. It's just showing you a suggestion of how we can play these patterns. Let's say the D pattern down here, which would be D shaped C. I'd have to bar it like this and go. Okay, and that would start with an S1D, because that's right before you go into the long pattern. Now we're going to warp it over. We did that before. So remember, you have to warp your patterns over. When I show the patterns here, if it warps through this part, if one of these is warping, okay, such as in this S3AXL, one of these is warping, I'm just going to square out the whole pattern. Alright, so where this would start 5, 6, 7, root 2, 3, and then warp up 4, 5, 6 over here, I'm just squaring out the whole pattern in this instance. That I found is helpful. So let's move along in the charts. Next chart on the list is 229. Pattern ramps, diatonic and pentatonic. This is like a novel chart that I made and put a lot of work into, and I did find out that yeah, you can spread out the pattern, so you don't have to go straight up the pattern like this. You can go diagonally. This is the extra long pattern string shapes ladder. Okay, so this is actually kind of a real big giant virtual fretboard, but it all boils down to the long patterns. Believe it or not, these long patterns that we start at the fret nut are actually three major patterns. The S2RXL would be root 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And then you just start it over again. Root 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And then warp that root over a little closer. Root 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So you see, we've kind of ramped our way up the keyboard just with the same pattern. Now with the S2, 2-string 4SL, this starts on the 4, super long. S is super long. That would be our Lydian fourth pattern. So it would be 4, 5, 6, 7, root 2, 3. 4, 5, 6, 7, root 2, 3. Warped up 4, 5, 6, 7, root 2, 3. Now you can do it fast and you get up there, but it's Lydian, so it's really that's what I just played. The root one that we played from down here, right here, root 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Same thing down here. Actually, my guitar goes a little lower. Okay. So they're mostly major patterns, and the S2AXL 5, 6, 7 root 2, 3, which would start, I guess we could start it here. 5, 6, 7, root 2, 3, 4. That is essentially a Mixolydian scale. So we've got 1, 4, 5 with the long patterns, which is nice. And one would say conversely, wouldn't it be true that with the short patterns, we've got the other modes? We've got the three minor modes. And indeed, with the short patterns, we have all of the modes, all 7. So with the addition of the long patterns, we have the Lydian pattern, and we also have the Locrian to play on the short pattern. We have all